Welcome to In the Zone. I'm your host, Max Vigue, with NCAA double playoff rankings, the Kansas City Chiefs undefeated no more, and the Philadelphia 76ers having the league's worst record. There's a lot to cover. In the Zone starts now. Joining me on desk today, this week we have Owen and Ashton, where we begin the discussion in college football. This season has had some ups and downs for Penn State, and with Ohio State with a loss and a whiteout win for the Nittany Lions, that have begun their battle back, currently sitting fourth on the AP rankings. The past week we saw Penn State blow out Purdue with a massive 49-10 win. Owen, after this win, does this give you the confidence that Penn State will make a deep playoff run?
I think it gives me moderate confidence. We've seen how Penn State has been over the course of this season. They did start out a little rocky with their game against Bowling Green, but over the course of the season, they've actually gotten a lot better. They did lose to Ohio State, unfortunately, but they did only lose by one score. The problem is they can't make it count when it matters, so that's going to be a challenge for them if they do make it into the playoffs. With their current setup right now, I believe their last two games are against Maryland and Minnesota. Those are winnable games, especially considering that both teams are unranked, so they should be easy wins. And with how we've seen Penn State basically dominate some of the teams, like they dominated Purdue, they dominated Washington in recent times, they're definitely a caliber team. Are they elite? It's definitely questionable, but they are a playoff team in my opinion. So we'll see how deep they go, and I really hope they do make a deep run.
I mean, I think with Penn State, it's just kind of like a wild card with them. Like, we know that they have a solid lineup. They're able to make their plays. They're able to do what they need to do. It's just, we never know, because sometimes they either play really poorly than expected against some heavier hitting teams, but then we also at the same time just feel like maybe they don't always bring what they need to bring when the moment counts on it. Ashton, do you have any other additional thoughts on this?
I'm not a Penn State fan. I'm not a Penn State fan, but I was at the Penn State and Ohio State game. That was an interesting game. How Penn State lost with that big one at the end there, trying to get the whatever. And I feel like that was kind of stupid. They should have just passed it inside the end zone and got the touchdown. But they didn't. They just decided to run and act like idiots to get the touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes they have some interesting calls and actions. After this past week, there has been quite a bit of movement in the rankings due to the madness within the SEC, and with the Kansas Jayhawks beating the number 6 ranked BYU Cougars on the road. With only 2 weeks left until the conference championships, every loss can make or break the hopes of making the playoffs. With the latest college football playoff rankings out, Ashton, what teams could make some noise in their final 2 games and solidify their spot in the playoffs?
Well, I think we have a lot of teams on this bracket. In my personal opinion, I will probably say Clemson because I am a Clemson fan. I'm happy that they're on the roster right now, and probably like maybe Penn State and like some other teams that are on the bracket, I think might do very well.
Nice. Owen, do you have anything you want to say about that, or maybe even challenge what Ashton is saying?
Yes, I do. I think a lot of the teams that are in the top 25, even those in the top 12, are definitely slightly questionable teams. I mean, a lot of the teams in the top 12 have at least one loss. The only 2 teams that have not had one loss this season are Oregon and Indiana, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Oregon is a really good team. They're definitely a playoff team, and they're probably going to make a deep run. Indiana, I could see making a relatively deep run, but probably only to the second round. I don't think they're going to be first-round exits. The only problem is they really haven't played anyone major, so it will be interesting to see how Indiana does in their final 2 games. One thing is for sure, though, I'm rooting for Penn State. I don't know how deep they'll go, but I hope they go all the way.
Interesting. I didn't know you were such a hardcore Penn State fan.
Well, I mean, I've been to 2 Penn State games, so what do you expect?
Yeah, that's true. In last week's episode, our anchors, Zach Humphrey and Dylan Shields, both discussed the concerns for the Chiefs, and they were on display this past week when they traveled to Buffalo. Patrick Mahomes led the Chiefs into enemy territory to face the red-hot Buffalo Bills, where the Bills' air attack and Josh Allen's legs combined to end the Chiefs' hopes for an undefeated season. Owen, what did the Bills do right to end this streak?
Well, the Bills did a number of things right. Well, they played like the Bills, at least the modern Bills, because the modern Bills have actually been pretty good. They haven't really been making any deep playoff runs, but they have at least been getting to the playoffs. And about the Chiefs, it's about time they lost. I could not bear to see them win any more games. I'm really sick of it. So I'm going to be honest, I'm really glad they lost. This is not just me being a salty Eagles fan who's angry about Super Bowl 57. This is just me being, hey, this team's won enough. I'm sick of seeing this team in the Super Bowl, and especially considering the fact that the Chiefs have made it to the AFC Championship every year since, I believe, either 2019 or 2018. They're definitely a good team. I won't deny that. But the problem is, it's the same thing every year. It's making the NFL incredibly boring. I cannot deny that Patrick Mahomes is one of the greatest players of all time. He's right up there with Tom Brady. But I'm getting really tired of him getting to the championship and the Super Bowl every year. It's time for the new teams to take a step up.
You have any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was very happy that the Chiefs lost too. So yeah, I'm not a Chiefs fan, but I do like the players like Patrick Mahomes, but thank God they lost. I like Josh Allen and other people like that. And to me, personally, Josh Allen is very fast. You cannot stop Josh Allen. Like, if you try to tackle him, you're not going to tackle him. He's going to run right off you.
I think we can all agree here that the Chiefs losing is a much-needed ego check for them, along with probably a very satisfying feeling as well. Another headliner game that occurred this past week was an interdivisional bout between the 7-2 Pittsburgh Steelers and the 7-3 Baltimore Ravens, and this turned out to be a classic AFC North game. Defenses stopped all chances of offense for both teams, but that didn't stop Chris Boswell as he drilled 6 field goals, with the 3 coming from over the 50 yards away. The Ravens had a chance to tie it late in the game, but their 2-point conversion was stopped, and the Steelers held on to win it without scoring a touchdown. Ashton, does this win solidify the Steelers as the true contenders for the Super Bowl?
For the Steelers, they will probably make it to the Super Bowl, but I don't think so because they're a good team, but they keep winning. They'll like the Chiefs to keep winning games, and especially this game. This was a very big upset. But the thing that I didn't like this one, I wanted the Ravens to win the game. I have to say, because they have Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers, and obviously my favorite, Derrick Henry. But then just watching the Steelers using their defense is just insane. But the Ravens have more speed than defense.
I could say as a Ravens fan that this was a very heartbreaking game for me to watch, and my roommate is definitely going to rub this in my face for the next month. Owen, is there anything you want to add on to this?
Yeah, I think the Steelers are a very good team. I won't deny that. They have the same record as the Eagles. But one thing I'm kind of sick of seeing is teams winning games by field goals. A lot of the teams, or at least a couple of the teams, have actually won games merely by kicking field goals without scoring. It's quite a common trend, at least this year, when back in previous seasons it was a rarity. In my opinion, if you want to be an elite team, you have to score a touchdown in at least every game and win it. Like, yeah, it is something. It does show that their defense is good if the other team doesn't outscore the team that's only kicking field goals. But it is also showing that the offense has some flaws to it. So hopefully they'll get those fixed. Pittsburgh has had numerous touchdowns in their previous few games, but I think they've had 2 games, including this one, where they've only won by field goals. So it's definitely something that needs to be worked on. They're definitely a playoff team, that's for sure, but I don't think they're quite a Super Bowl team.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see the argument for that. I'm mostly just salty as a Ravens fan, considering how we had a chance to at least tie it up and then just threw it away. We'll now send it over to Paige Davis for the latest in Marauder athletics. Paige?
Thanks, Max. The Marauder football team played their final game of the season this past week on the road against Edinburgh and came home victors. After leading 20-0 early in the third quarter, the Fighting Scots scored 21 unanswered points, with the Marauders needing a game-winning drive, and Ryan Zelt came through in a big way, leading the team 63 yards down the field in 11 plays to kick the game-winning 26-yard field goal. Zelt ended with the game with 336 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. The volleyball team concluded their season this past week with 2 home games against Shippensburg and Shepherd, in which the team won 3-2 against Shippensburg and dropping 3-0 to end the regular season. And with their record 15-14, they qualified for PSAC tournaments where they would square off with familiar foe, the Shepherd Rams. In this rematch, they traveled on the road and lost 3-1. Now, the girls will be looking towards the winter to rest and prepare for their spring season. Staying on the hardwood, the men's and women's basketball teams got their regular season started. The women's teams hosted the Chestnut Hill Griffins, where they won behind a dominant 22-point performance from Micaiah Shaw, winning 87-72, then taking their talents on the road to face the Goldley Beacom Lightning in tightly congested game. Winning by 4 for the men's team, they began the season with a 29-point win against Goldley Beacom, then dropping their next game against the Jefferson Rams, 102-98. They hosted their first home game of the season this past Thursday, hosting the Wilmington Wildcats, and took care of business behind their team leader in point. Drew Stover, both teams will look forward to their next 2 matchups as they hit the road to face off against the Cal U Vulcans in Slippery Rock. Now, we're going to get back to Max for a potential preview of the NBA Eastern Conference Championship. Max?
Thanks, Paige. The NBA audience was in for a treat this past week when the undefeated Cleveland Cavaliers traveled to the Garden to face the defending champion Boston Celtics. It was a battle of the superstars, Donovan Mitchell and Jason Tatum both scoring over 30 points in a game. That came down to the wire. In the end, the Celtics would have had the end of the Cavs' 15-game winning streak and an inch little closer to regaining the top seed in the conference. Owen, is it too early to say that this was a sneak peek of the Eastern Conference Championship?
I'm going to have to say no. I've been a little quiet on the NBA this season, but I have followed the Cavaliers' winning streak. Although I do think it is definitely between the Celtics and the Cavaliers, considering the fact that the Celtics are the reigning champions and are looking equally as good, if not maybe a little bit better this season. Yes, they do have a worse record than the Cavaliers, but they're still an elite team. I won't deny that. They've been an elite team for years. So it'll be interesting to see how the Celtics turn out in this season.
Yeah, it definitely feels like, because that's always kind of been a rivalry that's sort of been sparked between those 2 teams in particular. And I just feel like it's something that's definitely going to bring a lot liveliness to basketball, and with just the nature of the game, it's just kind of unpredictable at the moment. Ashton, you have any additional commentary on that?
Yes, I do. I'm a Sixers fan, but watching Donovan Mitchell and Tatum getting those exact amount of points is insane. 'Cause I'm not a Celtics fan, but I like Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell has been going off this year. Shooting all 3-point shots, Cleveland going undefeated with Mitchell, and other people on the Cleveland team are doing really well, especially when they go to the Garden to crush the Celtics.
Yeah.
Like that, I think that's most interesting to me is watching the Cleveland Cavaliers whooping the Celtics.
Interesting. On the other end of the spectrum, the Philadelphia 76ers were projected to be one of the top teams in the East. But after only winning 2 of their 13 games, they now sit at the bottom of the league behind the Washington Wizards, who only won 15 games last season, as a lot of the attention is placed on Joel Embiid's shoulders especially with the news coming out on the recent Sixers meeting where 24-year-old Tyrese Maxey called him out for being late to everything. This team seems to be struggling not only on the court, but clearly off the court. Ashton, do you believe this team can turn it around soon enough before it's too late?
I think they should, because right now they are, I don't want to say it, but I would say to a fan, I don't want to say it, but they suck. They need to keep winning games. You can't just throw out the bandwagon and having like people like off the court of like Joel and be shoving a reporter getting suspended, and then coming back from like an injury, and then the most interesting thing is what I heard Tyrese Maxey calling out Embiid, which I totally agree with Max of what he's saying. But I am a Sixers fan, but they need to turn it around.
Yeah, I can definitely see that perspective. Owen, do you think it's too late for this team, or do you think they can turn it around?
Well, I hope they turn it around. I'm also a Sixers fan, but if what I'm hearing about Joel Embiid is true, which I assume it is, then he's like Nick Sirianni is with the Eagles. He's toxic. And another problem with the Sixers is a lot of it is relying on high-end talent. Just like the Eagles, you have to build the depth from within. Yes, the Sixers have Joel Embiid. They recently got Paul George. But who else do they have? They need to get things together and start winning games. They have been regressing for the last couple of years. They're playoff teams, but they're not championship teams. They need to get things together, and it starts right here, turning things around and winning games. So hopefully it's not too late.
Yeah, well, it seems like both of you guys really want this to turn around for them, which is very understandable. That'll do it for this episode of In the Zone. From Owen Hook, Ashton Lagos, and Payje Davis, and the entirety of the In the Zone crew, I'm your host, Max Vigue. Thanks for tuning in, and make sure to tune in next time right here on In the Zone. Have a good night, Millersville.